So today's episode is the DNA of jealousy. It's going to be a fun one because we're going to talk about an emotion that impacts every romantic relationship, no matter who you are or where you are. If you're a human being, jealousy is on the spectrum of emotions, just like happiness, sadness, joy, pride. They're emotions that we all have, and the only thing that's different between person to person is the varying degrees to which those emotions become impactful and in ways that we express them, whether it be healthy, unhealthy, or somewhere in between. So this episode is mostly inspired by so many of the comments and messages that I've gotten of people writing in, asking about jealousy in their relationship. So we're going to discuss what the emotion is, how it impacts the relationship overall, how to avoid the pitfalls of jealousy, how to use jealousy in a way that's effective and that's actually beneficial for the relationship and informative as to how your relationship is going and how you are perceiving certain things that are taking place in the relationship. And then we're going to finish off like we always do with some questions at the end from folks who've written in. So let's get started. So healthy and unhealthy jealousy are established by two primary catalysts, emotionally speaking. So we're talking about the one side of things, which we would consider as reasonable suspicion, or jealousy has some degree of merit as an emotion, and insecurity. Reasonable suspicion makes sense. It's one of those things that's linked to specific events that are taking place. So like if you're dating someone or you've been dating someone for a few weeks or a few months and you guys are exclusive, and then you hear that they're still texting other people, or they tell you, or you find out, or you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend and they're maintaining relationships with members of the opposite sex when they told you that they wouldn't for whatever reason, or if that was a standard that you established in your relationship and that didn't happen, you'd have reasonable suspicion for jealousy when they do things that are sort of outside the standards that you guys have set together. So they tell you that, you know, when I go to bars or clubs, that I won't be dancing with other people, just my friends. And then you find out that that's not the case, or they've been giving numbers or their socials to people at the bar. Or if they tell you they're not going to be at the bar, if he says that he's going on a guy's trip and they're going to be looking at, you know, statues and museums, and he shows up on photos like at Mardi Gras, like, again, you'd have reasonable suspicion to be jealous about some of the things that he's doing. And not like from a FOMO standpoint, but from a, hey, why is he being dishonest? So dishonesty can spur about very reasonable suspicion to be jealous of certain behaviors being engaged in by the person you're with. However, other side of that coin would be insecurity. So there's a lot of people out there who, no matter how trustworthy a person is, no matter how much a person is what they say they are, does what they say they're going to do, and follows through moment for moment, countless time after countless time, they still look at them like they're cheating or they're doing something they're not supposed to be doing. So I think of one case when I was in college where I was dating this girl. We weren't like soulmates or anything like that. We've been dating for like a month or two. And like, I was a faithful dude. Like I did the things I said I was going to do. I was young and I was still trying to be like TV romantic when I was dating. I was misguided sometimes. Boy Meets World was one of my favorite shows. So I was looking for my Topanga and I wanted to be the Corey to some of these women that I was with. And it just, I was corny at the end of the day. But I remember she always wanted access to my social media. She wanted access to my phone. She wanted access to my life in a way that was beyond my word, which I felt like was gross and made the relationship feel strained. I remember I was at I was on a class project with this girl, not because I liked the girl or anything like that. I was in a class, professor assigned me this girl to be my partner, and we were working on this project. So we meet it was a Starbucks on campus, and we were just sitting, broad daylight, it's like 2:00 in the afternoon. I told my girlfriend that I was going to be here with this girl, and that's where I was, and we were discussing the project. It was mixed company. It wasn't like, you know, isolated. We actually had a 4-person table, so there was a big space buffer between us as well. And I remember my girlfriend at the time, I want to give her the benefit of the doubt. She said that she was already in the student union, just kind of doing whatever she was doing. I don't think she was. I think she invented a reason to be there, but she actually showed up to where we were working, like annoyed with an attitude. Like she walked up to me and she was like, hey, and I was like, hey, what's up? Like, not like, I was weirded out that she was there, but I wasn't uncomfortable because I wasn't doing anything weird. I just was working on school stuff. And I remember the girl was polite and she was just so goddamn rude to her. Like she was just nasty. She spoke to her, but the energy was like, you're trying to sleep with my man kind of energy. And not only was she not, but I wasn't either. I was trying to be faithful, but she was insanely jealous and insecure for reasons that are personal to her, but it definitely damaged the relationship and hurt how close we could have been together. And obviously we aren't together anymore. We didn't make it back then. So it caused friction, a friction that wasn't necessary, but she perceived the relationship or the dynamics affecting the relationship to be a threat. And that brings me to the definition of what jealousy is in the romantic context. It's the perception that there's a threat to the relationship, a perception that there's something amiss, that there's something that's going to impact the safety or sanctity of the union between two people. And sometimes that perception is consistent with reality, with the reasonable suspicion that we discussed before, or at times it's not, like my ex, who was chasing us and following us around at a coffee place when I was just doing school stuff. But there are reasons for that, and we're going to get into them as we go. So first, threat doesn't necessarily have to be based in an individual or what the person may be doing. Obviously, like with my ex that I mentioned a second ago, she had a lot of things from her past, I'm assuming, that made her feel like the people she was intimate with could not be trusted. And in a way, I had a lot of empathy for her in that circumstance. I still do. Like that's a massive burden to carry. You want to find love, but you also don't trust people. I can't imagine the torture that must be on a person, and I don't wish it on anybody. But yeah, it affects people. But there are many other things that can spur about this jealous feeling. Like for context, we can say maybe like a guy's trip or a girl's trip. Just the idea of a guy's trip or a girl's trip can give a person, depending on the person, a degree of jealous anxiety. Like, I'm not going to be there. I have to trust this person to be with guys only or girls only in an environment potentially that may be more welcoming to singles, that would put me in a position where I have to trust that in an environment that's more welcoming to singles and bachelors or bachelorettes, like that's risky for our relationship. And speaking of that, bachelorette and bachelor parties I get so many messages about people suspicious of the people they're with, about what they're supposed to be doing or not doing when they're at bachelor parties or bachelorette parties. It's an environment that can pose a threat to the relationship. And I would argue that the jealousy level that you have about a person potentially going to those environments is potentially directly indicative of how much trust you have in your relationship, and or how much respect and trust that the person who's going on those environments or those places may have for you. And when I say that, I'm specifically talking about circumstances where I'll give you an example. So when I was dating that girl, the one from the coffee place, I remember there was a point in our relationship where I don't drink. So I don't really go to bars like that. I don't now. I didn't back then. Like, I'll go. I'm not shy or anything like that. But it's a waste of time and money for a person who doesn't drink. So she would go to the bars with her friends, and I wouldn't care. I'd stay home. I play Call of Duty. I hang out with my friends. I do whatever, especially when I was in college. But one night she went out dancing, and I remember I got a text at like midnight, and I'd been inside with my friends we were playing Madden or something. And she said, hey, just so you know, I'm having a good time, and I've been dancing with a lot of the guys here. And I didn't see that message. So I was playing, my game, and another message came through, and it was like, most of them are guys so don't worry, but some of them are from the football team. And I remember when I finished my game, I checked my phone and I saw both of those back to back. I was like, I actually had a moment where I was like, all right, the bar as a specific context wasn't the issue here. It could have been. It's a risky place for sure. If you're trying to remain faithful to your relationship, I would have asked personally, like, well, if you are in a happy relationship and you are secure in the relationship, why are you at the bar when you could be spending that time building something meaningful with the person you're with, especially if you guys are around? And I'm not talking about people who go to the bar on occasion to be with their friends, to do whatever bar people do. There can be concerns there, but I'm not judging those people. I'm specifically talking about the people who are routine customers at the bar, like they're single when they're not. But that wasn't the issue here. The issue in this case was her trying to induce jealousy from me artificially with these text messages. And that's where it stood out to me as like, obviously a red flag, but I was starting to consider, that's around the time we actually broke up, where I was like, what kind of a person? I'm already trusting you to go to a bar without being jealous. I'm already trusting you to be with your friends around single dudes without being jealous. And you're trying to then build on, or I guess break the trust that we have in the relationship by manufacturing jealousy to see how much I care. which is what I felt that she was doing. And I thought, like, whether I care or don't, this is immature. This whole dance that you're trying to do, I'm not going to engage in it because I'm grown. If you're trying to make me jealous, like this is Euphoria, like this is a TV show, like I'm not going to play. I'm just going to take my ball and go home. So that's what I did. We broke up not too long after that. But again, the specific context, the bar could have been the issue. But in this case, it's more the second point I wanted to hit on is the behavior of the person you're with. A person's behavior is highly, highly indicative of whether jealousy will be healthy or coming from a place of manufactured conflict. Like with this situation I just explained a second ago in my case, a person's behavior tells you so much more about them than what they say. People saying positive things, trustworthy things, very helpful. Like saying them is not meaningless. There is some utility or some merit in hearing people say things like, I'm going to be faithful, or I'm not going to text other girls, or when I go to bars, I'm not going to dance with other women, or I'm not going to go to strip clubs. Like, and I also, again, as a guy, I argue, like, if you are arguing adamantly for your right to go to strip clubs as a married dude or as a dude who's in a relationship, I'm questioning your motives. What exactly are you asking for? What exactly are you getting out of these environments? But all that aside, the words you say must be consistent with your behavior, or you have nothing. And when you have inconsistent behaviors and words, you create a breeding ground for jealousy or turmoil within your relationship. Like if I'm dating someone and I tell them like, I don't drink, and then I go to a happy hour with some work friends and some of the work friends are female, and in that environment, she hears that one of the girls got me to take a shot. Like it's one, there's a breach of trust there because I told you I don't do something that I now do, but also a little bit deeper than that. I've created a circumstance for you to be intimately jealous because I've now allowed someone, a woman no less, outside the context of our relationship to move the needle on my sort of life-driven compass, the sort of code that I've set for myself as a non-drinker. I've let someone change that, which is an intimate thing. Like someone getting you to make that kind of a shift in your life. And it's a female outside the context of the relationship in a socialized, oftentimes romantically driven environment, which a lot of bar environments for younger adults might be. So again, like those kinds of behaviors, when they're inconsistent with what I say or who I said I was or who I am, will create a breeding ground for jealous responses. So it's important to keep that in mind. But while we're on the subject of bars, let's talk about alcohol consumption. So again, behaviors are important, but alcohol consumption becomes a massive, massive problem when we're talking about jealousy because people oftentimes blame alcohol for their indiscretions or their behaviors that aren't helpful. I can think of many couples I've worked with in the past who this is things that they said, but they were happy and faithful until one person got drunk and did something with somebody, which is, again, I have a lot of questions when people tell me that. Like, this isn't a movie. It's not like you got drunk and then you just fell into someone's bedroom. That doesn't happen that way. If it does happen, let me know. I've never heard of it go that route, but I'm curious to know because there's a lot of single people who write in who want to know where those establishments are where you can find someone who has the ability to get drunk and just fall into romantic connection. But I digress. But we know that alcohol consumption is something that lowers your inhibitions for sure and increases the likelihood that you're going to make decisions that are at times more risky. So if you're with a person who has heavy alcohol consumption in these kind of socially risky environments, then again, jealousy will become prevalent at some point because people tend to do things that they wouldn't do sober when they're heavily inebriated. Am I saying that everyone who gets drunk or who drinks is going to go out and cheat on their spouse? Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. And I'm not saying either that people who have, spouses who go out and drink with the guys or drink with the girls should sit at home worried or jealous that that's what's happening. But I'm saying if that's your situation, if those are your circumstances, I challenge you to take inventory of your relationship and your own feelings. If you're a person who isn't a jealous person, then maybe you got nothing to worry about. But if there's a part of you that ever worries, or even if it's 1% concerned, like they do this thing and I tolerate it, but it does make me feel a way, take inventory of your relationship and take inventory of yourself. And I ask you to start with yourself, honestly. Ask yourself, what about me or this relationship is causing or catalyzing this emotional response? And then from there, expand to what kind of behaviors have I endured from my spouse or significant other that may make me feel like they might break the bounds of our union. Once you do that, really appraise whether your jealousy is falling within the reasonable suspicion realm or if it's based in insecurity. And this doesn't have to be an isolated, independent activity. You can actually start this conversation with your significant other, because that's the biggest problem in relationships. I know everyone says it all the time, but nobody talks. Nobody talks to each other. People chat. Chatting is easy. Like, it's super, like I can chat. Like, I can be in an elevator with a stranger and we could have a conversation, but people don't have real conversations with each other until they're angry. People get angry, they get really, really honest. But when things are smooth, or you have yourself a little rhythm and there's no reason to rock the boat, or the perception that there's no reason to rock the boat, people avoid very difficult conversations because they're hard. And to have them in a way that's healthy and calm and respectful is a skill. And it's a skill that most people don't practice because we avoid these conversations our whole life. So we don't get good at them. We just get old. As you get old, you don't just improve, you just get wrinkly. And your relationships start to exist based on momentum, pacing, and life stage changes and hope versus actual effort to maintain the communication as you grow older. And that's why I get so many people writing in about how to maintain a healthy sex life when you're in your 50s and 60s after you've been dating or married for X amount of years. But that's a whole nother subject in itself, and I'll probably hit on that in another episode. But as we discuss the variables of a relationship that impact jealousy, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about some of the personal variables that may impact insecurity, like self-esteem, or things that develop way before you end up dating or married to someone, like attachment style, or the things that you experience growing up. Like, if you come from a broken home and you've seen people in your life not be faithful or engage in infidelity, then that's the standard that you know. And the brain is very complex, but it's incredibly predictable, and the brain gravitates to information it knows and circumstances it can recognize. And it doesn't discern whether these circumstances are necessarily good or bad. It just discerns whether they are familiar or unfamiliar, because unfamiliar can be scary and inherently unsafe or dangerous. And the familiar is seen as safe even when it's not. And I spoke about this on the trauma episode a lot, but truly the brain just wants consistency. And that can be a double-edged sword sometimes, but it definitely always remains an issue in relationships when people grow up and they don't see the right or the more positive aspects of a relationship as they develop, especially in the context of cheating. That's a major, major concern. But with that developmental history, you can also run into issues with relationship history, because with the brain liking consistency and sameness, you often can see someone who has a developmental history of, childhood or witnessing of childhood infidelity, arguing, chaos within the household relationship wise due to lack of trust and jealousy at the heart of a lot of that. And then that sort of parlays right into that person's dating life, and then they develop a relationship history of the same kind of stuff. And with that same stuff, they end up finding themselves in this vicious circle of either dating people who actually do cheat on them, which then is a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point, or they find the one person or the few people who won't cheat on them and they still treat them like they do. And then you find yourself alone, because oftentimes those people, healthier individuals in that context, may just get tired of being suspected all the time and they might just go. And you can't blame them, because it's nothing worse than being treated like you did something when you didn't, Like, has anyone ever been in that situation? Like, you're being treated like you broke a law when you didn't. It's like, growing up, I used to live in neighborhoods where people would steal from the convenience stores. I never did, but every now and then I would go into, it was called the A1 Market when I lived in Georgia, and I would go into the A1 Market to buy my little candy like I always did, and I never stole anything. I never did, but the staff would follow me around like I would or like I did steal. And there were times where I was feeling like, I might as well just take some stuff and run out of here. She can't catch me. She old anyway. And obviously I never did, because that's wrong, and I kind of want to go to heaven. So I don't want to do stuff that kind of adds to my ledger, like Black Widow. But like, I remember that feeling of like, I'm actually innocent and she's still treating me like I'm not. So I guess I should just not be innocent. I should just steal stuff. And that sort of psychology, it comes into play for relationships too, where you treat somebody like they cheat all the time, they may end up cheating on you. Like, give people the benefit of the doubt, not because of kindness, but the benefit of the doubt based on their behavior. So if they give you behaviors, not just words, that is trustworthy, that has integrity, that demonstrates that they live by a code or a standard that they are going to maintain in the relationship. Base your emotional response on that. And the only way to do that is to first base the cognitive response on it first. That would require actually reinforcing the mantra of trustworthiness within your relationship based on the actions. And vice versa, if they're giving you behaviors that show the opposite of those things I just listed, the opposite of integrity or the opposite of trustworthiness, or behaviors that make you question their motives because they are doing things that are inconsistent with the things that they say, then make the appropriate responses in those cases too. Leave, walk away. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do for yourself and for the other person. I know it becomes more difficult when you have kids, but I would argue don't have kids with people who suck, which I know it sounds flippant and easy to say, like when I'm just sitting here at this table talking to you, but like it's easier than people make it out to be. There are ways to not have children with people who suck. It's harder, it's tedious, requires you to actually engage with yourself in a way where you understand your own behavioral patterns and who you tend to have romantic weaknesses for, or where your blind spots may be. But it's worth it to not bring in babies in this world who are starting off behind the 8 ball because you chose to be with somebody who sucks. That's a terrible way to start out life, and I don't wish that to my worst enemies. But yeah, so one more thing I wanted to hit on before I move ahead a little bit is social media. Social media is a horrendous place for people who want to remain in a safe, wholesome relationship where people are faithful and they resist temptation. If you have, or if you are a person who has integrity, and if you are a person who is willing to commit to the person you're with in ways that are not challenged by the temptations offered by social media, then you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you're a person who can be susceptible to what social media has to offer in the realm of social connectivity, then maybe you should listen to what I'm about to say, because you might need to hear it. People who think they'll never cheat, people convince themselves that, hey, I'm a person, I'm above cheating, it can't happen to me. Those are the people I worry about the most, truly. Like the idea that a person sees themselves on a moral plane so high above something that they don't have to prepare for it is a questionable stance in my perspective. I don't ever want to cheat, ever. Like I think it's a horrendous thing to do to someone. I think it's a incredibly destructive thing to do to your family if you have kids. It's an awful way to end a marriage if you're married. It's terrible. And I hope I'm never in that position. But one thing I'll never do is sit here and pretend that I can't ever fall victim to lust or temptation with infidelity. It's possible. I'm a human being like everybody else. And I firmly stand on that everyone should recognize their humanity. It's like the idea of judging like Tiger Woods. How could he cheat on his wife? How could he do these terrible things? Like, I don't know. He's a human being. And if you throw enough temptation at somebody and they're not ready for it, or they've convinced themselves that one, that they are entitled to the temptation, or that they're above it and it couldn't hurt them because, you know, they've done too many great things, then perhaps you might find yourself in a situation like Tiger Woods. Everybody can cheat, which is why everyone needs to be vigilant of the fact that temptation exists, so you don't put yourself in physical proximity of things that may harm your relationship. Like, I personally, I obviously for a lot of reasons, I don't go to like gentlemen's clubs. Like, I just don't. I'm a psychologist too, so it's like, I don't know, like mad weird. If a psychologist just shows up at a gentleman's club or a strip club, I feel like that's a place where like I shouldn't be welcomed and I wouldn't want to be there. But I don't go in general because there's no utility for that environment if you're in a relationship. There really isn't. And if you argue that there is, then I would argue that you're arguing from a selfish position. You're arguing from a very myopic, individually focused position, because what you're getting out of that is all just you. It's greed. It's like arguing that you should be allowed to overeat. It's like, yeah, technically you're not breaking the law about overeating, but you are doing something that's absolutely damaging to your health. I feel like strip clubs are the same. If you want to stay faithful to your wife, why would you put yourself around other naked women and now create this weird tension where the only barrier between you and cheating is willpower, which is flimsy at best? I've yet to hear a strong argument on the contrary. Open to hearing them. If you got one, write in, let me know. But yeah, it's been one of those things where I firmly stand on it based on the idea of proximity. Proximity means so much to your relationship, because so much will keep you out of trouble and will keep your partner from feeling jealousy is just not putting yourself in environments where bad things can happen. Like, just look at it like this. Like, if you were really, really attached to somebody, a really close friend, or even someone you're dating, and you love them and you don't want them to die, and they tell you that they want to go skydiving every day for the next 30 days, you'd be like, yo, like, even if they went one time in the next 30 days, there's a lot of people, myself included, who would be like, yo, I don't want you to die. I know statistically you probably won't, but you might. And that would destroy our relationship, obviously, because you're dead, but like, it would hurt. Please don't jump. Please don't skydive. I look at being around strange women that you don't know in these kind of socially lubricating environments, no pun intended, I guess. It's like skydiving. If you're trying to stay faithful to your lady, like, for sure, statistically, you're probably gonna be all right. But there's still a chance you won't be. And you'll go careening to the earth and slam into the ground as your parachute doesn't open. Now you got a baby outside your wedding or your wedlock, which is horrendous. Nobody wants that situation, and especially not the kid, for sure. When they grow up, it's confusing as hell. But please don't take the chance of skydiving with your relationship. It's gonna put you in a bad spot, a spot that you don't need to be in. And with that, I'll tell you one more story. So when I was dating someone in my early 20s, I remember she was in a sorority. Again, this is a case of reasonable suspicion and how jealousy actually can be helpful. I know I've spent a lot of time discussing how jealousy can be potentially very, very harmful in some ways, but in other ways, it's a strong barometer for what may be actually happening. And in this case, I was with my girl. We were going to her sorority house to pick up some stuff. Like, whatever, we're gonna go pick up some stuff. I'll go with her. We get there, and as we walk in, there's some girls that are sitting at the table. And have you ever been to a sorority house? There's like a big, like, beach house almost, just in the middle of a city. So we go into the house. There's some sitting there at the table studying. Some girls in the kitchens, a big, long, rectangular table. At the far end of it, they're like cooking or making some stuff. I don't know. And then my girl had to go upstairs to get her stuff. It's a sorority house, so I don't want to be a creepy dude and be walking around everywhere. So I just parked myself at the table and I wait until my lady comes down from what she was doing. I kid you not, while I'm sitting at the table, one of the girls comes out of the kitchen. She sees me sitting there and she just pulls her shirt up, like straight up, like no bra, nothing. And I don't know this girl. I've never seen her before. She's never seen me before. I'm pretty sure she knew I came in with my lady because she saw us walk in while she was in the kitchen or whatever room she was in. But she came in and it was real quick. She just flashed like 2-3 seconds. She laughed and she pulled her shirt down and she giggled and ran out the room. And I'm sitting there like, yo, did she just do that? Like, you have to take a moment to process. Like, I don't know what I just saw. Also a man too. So I'm like low key, like a little excited, but also like, this is a problem. So my girl comes back downstairs and I'm just sitting there like kind of smiling, but like weirded out. And obviously I tell her, and I'm like, if I'm being completely honest, I was nervous to even telling her. Cause I was like, I don't want to see her. I don't know where this is going to go. Like, this is weird. The whole thing is weird. So like she comes in, I let her know, like, I don't know who that girl was, but when you left, she flashed me while you were gone. And then she like giggled and ran away. And so like my girl, she like lost it, like low key, like lost her temper. Like, where the hell is she? And for context, like my ex was an athlete, so she was athletic. She was strong. She looked like she could fight. So she went to go find this girl and she chewed her out and like was a near fight, like almost caused an issue. And like I had to grab my lady and like pull her off, like put that off. They weren't like tussling or anything. Like, I had to like pull her back and like get her out of there. And we left. And she was mad, and that ended their friendship, presumably. I never followed up on it. The whole thing was the whole thing was bizarre, but I just knew like it was wrong, and I was happy I told her that it happened, because there's part of me that was like, I shouldn't say anything. I should just leave. She could just get the hell out of here and just not mention it because no one knew. But I'm glad I told her, because she did have some jealousy in that moment. Like, she did, like, righteously so. Like, she was jealous that another woman just flashed herself to her man, and it was righteous suspicion. It was absolutely appropriate because that just happened. And somebody was encroaching upon the safety of her relationship directly in a sorority house, which, again, going back to environment, is like hugely problematic. But yeah, she didn't get into a fight. We got out of there, and that lady probably is a professional, married, and has kids and all that kind of stuff now, whose family probably has no idea that she was a flasher at a sorority house. Thankfully, though, there was no fight and everything worked out. But yeah, to summarize, overall, when jealousy exists in a relationship and is brought about because of limited trust for whatever particular reason, some of the many reasons we discussed already, it can create resentment, anger, and ultimately paranoia within the relationship that causes the whole foundation to collapse. When it's righteous, it may be a barometer, like when the jealousy is righteous, it may be a barometer that you actually have trust in your relationship, like with me and my ex, with her and the flasher at the sorority house. Like, we actually did have trust. She and I were both faithful, and we were honest with each other even when it was uncomfortable, because again, I didn't want to tell her that happened, but it did, and I let her know. And then that behavior also gave me some equity too, because even though that day sucked, it did reinforce to her with my behaviors, not just the things that I say, that like, I'm not just going to keep things from you that are uncomfortable to talk about, because that's all that was. Like, I didn't cheat, I didn't touch anybody, I didn't follow up with her, I didn't get her name, I didn't get her number, none of that stuff. But it did have a profound impact on our relationship in that moment. And imagine how our relationship would have gone, or our evening would have gone, had I said nothing, and then her friend texted her like, hey, I heard so-and-so flash your boyfriend, did he tell you? And then I'm in this situation like, oh, well, I don't want to lie, so yeah, it did happen, but I didn't tell you because I didn't want to make you upset. And now I'm trying to prove to her that I hid something from her to protect her feelings, even though it's part, maybe 10% protecting her feelings, but 90% avoiding a negative or uncomfortable conversation. So again, jealousy itself it's an emotion. It's like a tool. And with any tool, like a hammer or a chainsaw, it could be helpful in building the foundation of a really strong house, or it could be used to commit a murder. Tools are just that. They're tools, and their usefulness is highly dependent on who's wielding it. Same with the jealousy. It's an emotional tool, an emotional barometer as to what may be going on for the person and or for the relationship. And it can tell you a lot about where the relationship is. It also can tell you a lot about where the relationship isn't. If you don't have trust and there's jealousy there, if the jealousy is manufactured, like the person I talked about earlier who was just sending me those weird texts, like those kinds of things, it's hard to say that jealousy wasn't helpful in those situations, because it was. That's a alarm bell to what might have been happening, but it was an indicator that we weren't emotionally close. There wasn't a lot of trust and integrity in the relationships, and we probably shouldn't have been together, if that makes any sense. So how do we mitigate the pitfalls of jealousy when the jealousy is becoming a hindrance to the relationship, or how do we prevent it from becoming a hindrance to the relationship? And the first step would be communication. Communication. And I don't just mean talking. Talking is not communication. Communication is effective talking. It's efficient talking. It is targeted and directed talking in a way that's respectful and emotionally relevant for the people involved. If you're going to be a person who says that you communicate within your relationship, put your money where your mouth is, literally. Actually initiate the conversations about boundaries and about certain behavioral discomforts early, far before they happen. Do not wait for things to happen, for boundaries to be encroached upon that you never set to begin with, and then keep it in and let it fester, or snap and overreact. There's so many aspects of a relationship, especially around the idea of jealousy, that can be mitigated by just having a conversation. So like the bar example, first of all, when you meet somebody, assess whether that's a part of their life. If you're a person who is uncomfortable with the idea, for whatever reason, if you're uncomfortable with the idea of your significant other being in the bar setting or in these very socially risky places, like, first of all, maybe not finding someone who is hanging at a bar. Maybe date someone or look for someone who shares those same values, first of all. And if you do, and that person is an occasional bar goer, and you end up with them by happenstance, you go to the same school, or you work in the same office, or you go to some academic conference and you guys meet and you didn't know because you weren't in a bar, like that's life. That happens all the time. In those cases, have these conversations about what makes you uncomfortable and be honest about it. Don't try to be cool. Don't nice guy or nice girl your way out of your own happiness. Like, that can be super duper damaging down the road. And the last thing you want to do is try to have these quick conversations on the fly. Trying to deal with these hot button emotional or intimate issues in the midst of a crisis, when it's happening, when it's real, is like trying to put your seatbelt on after you've already started to be in a crash on the freeway. If you're going 90 miles an hour and you've hit something and your car is flipping over and you're just now trying to put your seatbelt on, it ain't gonna work. You can go flying out the window, and it's pretty much a wrap for you at that point. So treat your relationship the same way. Don't put yourself in a position where you're having to try to throw your seatbelt on quickly while your car is flipping over. Have these conversations early. Wear your seatbelt early. Make it a practice. Like being in the bedroom. Bring bedroom conversations up far before you get to the bedroom, and far before it's like sexy. Separating between sexting or having like foreplay based conversations versus like, no, legitimately, I don't like my hair to be pulled. I don't know, all kidding aside, this took a lot and I got tracks. So I'm not having somebody pull my weave out in the middle of in the middle of anything. Or as a dude, like I had somebody, it was a couple that I worked with, and the guy in the relationship, he had dreads, and he didn't like the idea of having to admit that he didn't like the fact that his girl would sometimes pull at his dreads, because he felt like as a man, he should be able to take it. Don't ask me why, it was his personal preference. But as a dude, he was like, honestly, it hurts. I wish he would stop, but I don't want to tell her to stop because I don't want to seem like, I don't want to seem soft, like I can't take it. And during couples treatment, we brought that up. Like I was like, hey man, like even as your therapist, I'm not going to do your work for you. Tell her, even in front of me, how you feel. Like let her know it's not okay. Don't pull my locks. It hurts. I'm human. You know, I got scalp like everybody else. I'm bald, so I can't really relate, but I can definitely try to have empathy for that situation as a human and also as a man. But yeah, have these conversations early so you don't put yourself behind the 8-ball. And if you've already done that, and things are relatively smooth, but there's still jealousy taking place, do some internal searching. Ask yourself like where the jealousy may be coming from and why. And then once you get to a place where you understand where and why, have that conversation with your partner and try to mitigate as much of it as you can. Like, is it based strictly on the way you developed or the way you grew up and the things you saw with relationships as you were growing older? Is it because of past relationships where jealousy exists and sometimes it's warranted, sometimes it's not? Is it because of current circumstances where the person you're with is doing things that are not helpful or that are not healthy, that are causing the relationship to be on the rocks? Is there self-sabotage happening? Or you or the person you're with engaging in behaviors that are damaging to the relationship just to create a degree of chaos out of habit, which people do? And I talked a lot about this in my trauma video too. Like sometimes the idea of healthy relationships is uncomfortable for people. They've never engaged in it. Their brain doesn't recognize it as something that's safe or familiar, at least. What it does recognize is chaos, and it will manufacture it if you let it. This goes back to the point about me saying like there's people who believe it's impossible for them to cheat. Please, everybody can fall victim to it. And part of changing your behaviors is changing the way you think first, and then the emotions soon follow over time with practice. If you can do this, you give yourself a fighting chance. I'll give you a silly example of a relationship conversation that I had about jealousy. So I played basketball for most of my life, and I remember in one of my last relationships, we had a rule that I couldn't play one-on-one with other girls because my ex, she played basketball too, and how we met was we were at the court hooping and we were playing one-on-one, and we liked each other and we kept playing one-on-one, and then we eventually got some food together. And then eventually we started hanging out together, and then it snowballed into a relationship. And while we were playing one-on-one, it was very flirty. It was handsy. It was physical, and not like creepy handsy. It was just like I'm playing basketball. I'm playing defense. I have to touch you. And if you like me, like she was probably, touching me more than she should have. And I probably was touching her more than I should have. But we liked each other and we ended up dating. So her argument was, and to her credit, she brought this up early. Her argument was that, how do we meet? On the court, playing one-on-one, engaging in a physical contact sport where there's a degree of intimacy, we're sweating, we're getting familiar with each other physically and emotionally because we're repeating this behavior more than once, assuming we both go to the court often. And we developed into a relationship and we got physically intimate soon after that. So her argument was if we started that way, how can I look at you and expect you to not do that with other women if you guys are playing one-on-one? All I ask is that if you go to the court, you play pickup and there's girls there. I don't care if they play 5-on-5 with you guys, but just please no one-on-one. That would make me feel uncomfortable. And her argument was so sound that I had no follow-up to it. I was like, damn, you're right. That's how we met. That's how things got started with us. That's how our relationship got popping. So yeah, I respect that boundary, man. And if it will help our relationship have a fighting chance to stand on, and it will reduce jealousy and increase your trust in me, cool, let's do it. I won't be playing no one-on-one with nobody but you, babe. And it worked out. Now contrast that With the other situation where my ex was asking for my social media and for my passwords and all that kind of stuff, saying the same similar argument is like, well, I would feel better if I had your social media and I could access it. And it's like, well, that took me having to discern the arguments there. One was a reasonable suspicion based argument where it's like, we met this way, we're physical, there's contact, it led to direct intimacy, etc., etc. In this case, it's just like, I want to see your social media because I don't trust what you say. No matter what you say, I'm insecure and I believe you're going to do stuff on social media that I can't trust. So I got to check and verify, which is abusive. It's terrible. It's not healthy. I don't need Uncle Sam in my house, like checking me like the CIA. Like, that's not cool. I'm not giving you social media access to any of my stuff because that's silly. If you love me and say you trust me, then let's give it a chance to develop organically. And if you are insecure based on past relationships, recognize that I ain't them. I'm a new person. So give me a chance to be a good dude. That's why we didn't make it though. But yeah, hopefully some of this has helped. My goal is to do my best with getting out an episode once a month going forward. This one was enjoyable to talk about. It's a very nebulous topic. Probably going to be a first of volume. We're going to talk about jealousy in a lot of different ways. There's so many things on my notes that I couldn't get to today, but in the meantime, we're going to close like we always do with some listener feedback from some folks who've written in. And if you're ever a person who wants to write in and you possibly want your feedback read on the show, or you drop me a message in my inbox, just let me know and I'll do my best to try to squeeze it in as much as we can. So first we have Jade from Nashville. Me and my boyfriend have been together for 3 years and for the most part things have been great. He has a good job and he supports me with everything he has, no matter how tired he might be. And he even remembers my birthday every year. Okay. That's odd, but we're going to talk about that. Unfortunately, last week I found some pretty heartbreaking texts in his phone when he was in the shower, and it's really tearing me up inside. He was messaging some girl from his hometown, and it was clear that they were talking like a little bit more than friends. I didn't know how to confront him, so I just tried my best to pretend like I didn't see it. And when he got out the bathroom, we acted pretty normal. How do I bring it up to him without fully torching the relationship? And how do I make it so things are okay? I still really love him and I want to make it work, and I'm hoping that he feels the same. What should I do? Okay, so shout out to you, Jade, for actually being okay and comfortable enough sharing that with the public. That's a tough story, but that's not an uncommon story, unfortunately. There are people out there who cheat. But my biggest question is, like, first of all, someone who remembers your birthday they shouldn't get a cookie for that. They shouldn't get a badge of honor for remembering that it's your birthday. If they're in a committed relationship with you and they say they love you, that should be a standard, that they remember your birthday. So I just want to point that out because I feel like that's such a throwaway line, but that actually tells me you're a sweetheart. So I'm not attacking you at all, but it just tells me so much about maybe how you see the relationship, as if he's doing you some kind of favor by just merely existing. I don't know you, Jade, but there are enough people on this planet where you don't have to put up with somebody who's cheating on you or who's doing weird stuff. But one thing you cannot do is try to maintain love and maintain the relationship, and as you say, like, make it work, while also hoping that you can discuss infidelity or the potential for infidelity at the same time. You can't have love and trust without fidelity, and it seems like he's not giving you that. So first, to answer your question, bring it up right away. Like, there's never a right time to bring up, oh my gosh, you've been cheating on me. It's not something you plan for, but that's a conversation that has to happen. And I would suggest doing it maybe like this. So if it's a hard conversation for you, which it seems like it is, practice. Go to your car, and then this sounds silly, but go to your car, roll all your windows up, turn the AC on, like it says you're in Nashville and it's June, so it's gonna be hot, and practice in the car. Practice the things you're gonna say, and practice the boundary you're gonna set, and don't budge on it. And if you struggle with budging on boundaries, practice the things you're gonna say when people talk about or try to find their way past them. So develop an internal monologue about, okay, what I'm feeling, how that, and go back to the moment you first opened those text messages. I can't imagine the chaos that was going on in your heart as you're reading them. Like, that sounds awful. But go back to that moment, draw on that emotion, because that emotion was real. Use it when you practice, and then apply it in the game, so to speak. But then also, like, give the conversation space. When I say space, I don't mean push it off or move it to 3-4 weeks from now. I mean, have the conversation when you have a time gap to have the conversation. If you guys live together, and you didn't get into all your specifics, but if y'all live together and you get home from work, like, if it's 5:30 and hopefully you ain't got no kids around, but if it's just you and him, start it ASAP and be real. and set the standard to yourself again before the conversation happens, like whether you even want to stay and whether you should stay. Because sometimes those things are not consistent. Like sometimes you really want to stay and you know you shouldn't. And sometimes you need to go with the brain and not the heart. Like if somebody's cheating on you, but the way they react too, it means a lot. Like someone's cheating on you and they don't care about how you respond, or they respond with being angry or defensive and aggressive, then it's time to go, unfortunately. I hope that helps. I'm sorry if it doesn't, but right back. I want to hear how this goes. And I can't foot stomp this point more than anything, but the people you're with, they're not doing you a favor by being with you. You bring something to the table too. And I know it sounds cheesy, but everybody is special to some degree. And this ain't charity. Like he's not just happy to be with you just because it's just a thing to do. And if that's the case, then I would argue you don't have a real lovely foundation to begin with. But you bring something to the table too, and you can go out and get somebody better, because there are men out there who don't cheat. Trust me, I intend to continue to be one of them, and I will do my best to make sure that never changes. But yeah, keep fighting and right back in. Let me know how it goes. So next, we're gonna go to Shelly in Los Angeles, because I feel like, first of all, Shelly, thank you for writing in, but your response is short and sweet. It's, I want to find love and it's not happening. Why is it that all men only want sex from me? All right, well, short and sweet, to the point. So 2 things. First, you say you want to find love and it's not happening. I challenge you to define it. I know it's on my mug. I know I say it all the time, but define love to find love. So many people are saying, I want to find love, but they don't know what the hell they're looking for. They've never defined it. They have never realistically pulled back, asked themselves, like, what is this thing that I'm pursuing? What is love? What does it look like in practice? How does a person who loves me treat me? How do they behave around me? What do they do for me? What do I do for them? Is our relationship parasitic or is it symbiotic? Do I give myself a chance to actually feel love and trust, or do I sabotage it myself because that's what I'm consistently used to? Ask yourself, what does love look like? And if you don't know, again, this is great news, because now you have a chance to find out. Now you have a chance to actually seek out the things that matter the most. Like, what the hell is this thing that we continue to call love? And if you don't have any examples in your personal life of what love may be, that's great. That's great. It's not great, but it's great because then it gives you an opportunity. It gives you a chance to be able to look out into the world to see what standards of love may exist. And I always start with fantasy-based figures that may seem fantastical, but that may represent the actual standard of what love could and should be. When I was a kid, I obviously had my parents as a reflection of what love looks like, and my mom really aggressively fought to make sure I defined it. I defined love early for myself as a kid growing up, so I knew what I wanted, I knew what my boundaries were, and I knew what I was looking for. But in addition to that, I always loved Simba and Nala on The Lion King. I don't know why. As a kid, I was like, yo, that's what I think love is. Like, Simba was going off the deep end, but Nala cared enough about him to bring him back. And he cared enough about her to try to save her life and to keep her safe. He was a king and she was his queen. And as a kid, I was like, yeah, that's what I want. I'm hoping to be a Simba, form my kingdom somewhere. I'm looking for my Nala too. And I don't know. I like their dynamic. I like the fact that she didn't just like submit and roll over to him either as just like some weak, woman. She was strong and she was aggressive and she was willing to fight with him, not with him at home, but with him in the streets. She was willing to go up against Scar, believing in this dude to be king. And it's like, who wouldn't want a woman who has your back like that? But that was my standard as a kid. And obviously I matured as I grew up and developed into something more nuanced, but that's where it started. So define that for yourself. Your second point, why does it feel like men only want to have sex with me? Well, first of all, you said all men. It's not all men. Like, it's just the men you've dealt with. And I don't mean that to be harsh, but sometimes we got to be honest with ourselves about the circles we're putting ourselves in. Like, if you're only dealing with guys who suck, then you're going to think all guys suck. It's like fishing in a radioactive, gross lake. And you're like, how come all the fish make my hair fall out? It's like, well, duh. These fish are gross. They're contaminated. And you keep pulling them onto your boat. Stop it. Throw down the rod, move the boat. And if you need to move out of that body of water, then get out of that body of water and find you something more valuable. But you say what men only want from you is sex. It's like some men, not all men, but some men only want sex from you. There's nothing you can do about it. They're allowed to want whatever they want. A used car salesman wants me to buy a car. a credit card company reaches out to me once or twice a month wanting me to get a new credit card to destroy my credit. Like, people on the street want me to stop and listen to them when they're yelling at me about businesses that they're hawking on the sidewalk. People can want what they want. The only thing that keeps another human's desires from becoming your reality is the boundaries you set. You set the right boundaries, then their wants or desires mean nothing. Because if they cross over that line and encroach upon your boundaries, then you are right there to sit them right back where they need to be. If the dudes out there that you are dealing with only want sex, move pools that you're fishing in. Actually change the environment that you're in and recognize that, like, and I don't know you, but be honest, man. Is that all you're giving? Like, if you're comfortable enough and mature enough to acknowledge that point, that many of the men you've dealt with only want sex, then I would argue that you should be comfortable asking yourself, like, have I given up sex too freely to these men who obviously, like you said, don't love you to begin with? It's a question I can't answer, but it's just one that you need to find out. Before you start trying to search for love, you gotta know what that looks like. And you gotta recognize that your body is the only one you got and it's meaningful, and whoever you let breach that boundary is someone you should be trusting and should have a potential to love you. And if they don't, you've made a mistake. I don't mean that to be harsh. Again, just like Jay, Shelly, I'm sure you're a sweetheart. Keep fighting the good fight, and please write in again. Let me know how this turns out, because I want to know. I want to make sure that I want to see how people are doing after the feedback, to see if, you know, things work out. But I'm reaching the end of my time, so I'm going to have to go ahead and wrap us up. But this was fun. This is great. These are great questions. Please keep writing in. Every single thing I can get to, I try to, or every single message I can get to, I try to get to as quickly as I can. Just being honest, there's so many, it's hard for me to hit on all of them. I do my best to respond back to as many as I can, though. As I say every week, or every at this point, it's like every month. But define love, just like in Shelly's case. If you want to know what love feels like, if you want to know how to obtain love, or to hold it, or to grab it or grasp it in any way, shape, or form, you got to know what you're looking for. You got to know what you're searching for. You can't just be in the dark with your eyes closed swinging until you hit something. You got to actually get out there and target this operation in a way that's useful and effective. And if you don't, then you're just going to be out there looking for randoms, and randoms take advantage, because randoms know you don't know what you're looking for. So define love effectively for yourself. Know what that's going to look like. Know what that outcome is going to be, and then target it in the people you're trying to date. If you can do that, then you give yourself a fighting chance. And as long as you give yourself a fighting chance, that's all we can ask for in this world, because I can't guarantee success, but I can guarantee the opportunity to try to win something in your life worth having. Hopefully that's somebody's hand in marriage, or whatever equivalent you might have in your life for that standard. Again, thank you all for listening. Follow the DNA of Love with Dr. Williams on all socials, TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, all that good stuff, to get everything that we post, every new video clip, every new short, every new episode on the podcast, whether it be audio, visual. Please subscribe to the page. It helps so much. Hit the notification bell just so you can make sure you get everything that we release in a timely manner when we do it. Again, my DMs remain open on Instagram. If you have any questions, any feedback that you'd like to get, any circumstances you want to chat about, please write in. I'll get back to you guys as quickly as I can. Otherwise, looking forward to the next episode. I'm going to try to get one out once a month in the middle of the month, every single month going forward. Thank you for everything. Anyone who's bought some merch, anyone who's supported the show in any way, shape, or form, it is so much appreciated. I hope everyone has a good rest of y'all day. Y'all take care now. I just can't show love. You just said I show